Maria Gonzalez woke up at 5 in the morning, just like she had done every day for the past 3 years. She lived in a small apartment 20 minutes away from the big house where she worked. The alarm clock rang loudly in her tiny bedroom, but Maria was already awake. She always woke up before the alarm. It was her way. She got dressed in her simple blue uniform and tied her long black hair into a neat bun. Maria looked at herself in the small mirror by her dresser. At 35 years old, she had kind brown eyes and gentle hands that showed she worked hard every day. She picked up her bag and walked to the bus stop. The bus ride to Beverly Hills was always quiet in the early morning. Maria sat by the window and watched the city wake up. She saw other people going to work just like her. Some looked tired, some looked worried. Maria felt grateful for her job, even though it was not easy. The Harrison house was huge. It had 20 rooms, a big garden, and a swimming pool. Maria had counted the rooms many times while cleaning them. The house was white with tall windows and looked like a castle from a fairy tale. But Maria knew that fairy tales were not always happy, and neither was this house. Maria used her key to enter through the back door. The kitchen was bigger than her whole apartment. Everything was clean and expensive. The refrigerator was so big that 3 families could keep their food in it. The counters were made of white marble that felt cold under her hands. She started making coffee. The smell filled the kitchen and made her feel more awake. This was always her first job of the day. Mr. Richard Harrison liked his coffee strong and black. He was a very important man who owned computer companies. People said he had more money than he could count. But money did not make Mr. Harrison happy. Maria could see this every day. He was always busy with his phone talking to people about business. He traveled a lot for work. Sometimes he was gone for days or even weeks. When he was home, he looked tired and worried. Maria finished making the coffee and started cleaning the kitchen. She wiped every counter and made sure every dish was perfect. Mrs. Henderson, the head housekeeper, had taught her that everything must be perfect in this house. Mrs. Henderson was a strict woman who had worked for rich families for 30 years. 7 o'clock, Maria heard footsteps upstairs. Mr. Harrison was getting ready for work. He would come down soon for his coffee. But there was another sound that Maria always listened for. It was softer footsteps from a different room. Tommy Harrison was 12 years old. He was Mr. Harrison's only child. Maria had been working in the house for 3 years, and in all that time she had never seen Tommy smile, not once. Tommy was born blind. He could not see anything at all. His world was full of sounds and smells and feelings, but no colors or light. Maria often wondered what that was like. She tried to imagine walking around her apartment with her eyes closed, but it seemed impossible. The boy spent most of his time in his room on the 2nd floor. It was a big room with expensive toys and books written in Braille. Braille was a way of writing that blind people could read with their fingers. Tommy had a computer that talked to him and told him what was on the screen. But even with all these things, Tommy seemed very lonely. Maria noticed this from her first day of work. The boy would sit by his window for hours just listening to the sounds outside. Sometimes she heard him talking to himself, making up stories about what he thought he heard. Mr. Harrison loved his son, but he was afraid. Maria could see the fear in his eyes whenever he looked at Tommy. It was like he did not know how to be a father to a blind child. So he bought Tommy everything he could think of, hoping that expensive things would make up for his own confusion. The house had many people working in it. There was Mrs. Henderson, the head housekeeper. There was James, the butler, who wore a black suit every day. There were 2 gardeners who took care of the flowers and grass. There was a cook named Sarah who made wonderful meals. And there was Maria, who cleaned and helped with whatever was needed. But even with all these people around, the house felt empty and sad. People did their jobs quietly. They spoke in whispers. It was like everyone was afraid to make too much noise. Maria finished cleaning the kitchen and went upstairs to dust the bedrooms. She always saved Tommy's room for last. When she knocked on his door, she heard his soft voice say, "Come in." Tommy was sitting in his chair by the window. He was wearing blue pajamas and his hair was messy from sleep. He turned his head toward the door when Maria entered, even though he could not see her. "Good morning, Tommy," Maria said gently. Her voice was warm and kind. "Good morning, Maria," Tommy replied. He always knew it was her. Maria smelled like the lavender soap she used, and her footsteps were lighter than everyone else's. "How did you sleep?" Maria asked as she started dusting his shelves. "Okay," Tommy said, but Maria could tell he was lying. She had learned to listen carefully to his voice. When Tommy was sad, his voice got very quiet. As Maria cleaned, she hummed a soft song. It was a song her grandmother had taught her when she was little. The song was about birds flying in the sky and flowers growing in the garden. Something amazing happened when Maria hummed. Tommy's head lifted up and turned toward her. His face changed. The sadness seemed to go away. Just for a moment. It was like the music woke up something inside him. Maria noticed this, but she did not say anything. She just kept humming while she worked. She saw how Tommy's shoulders relaxed and how he seemed to breathe easier. When she finished cleaning his room, Maria said goodbye and went to clean other parts of the house. But she kept thinking about Tommy's face when she hummed. It was the closest thing to happiness she had ever seen from him. The rest of the day was like all the other days. Mr. Harrison left for work after drinking his coffee and reading his papers. He did not say goodbye to Tommy. Maria thought this was very sad, but it was not her place to say anything. Tommy ate breakfast alone in the dining room. Sarah, the cook, made him pancakes and orange juice. Tommy ate slowly and carefully. He had learned to do everything without seeing, but it took more time than it would for other children. After breakfast, Tommy went back to his room. A teacher came to the house 3 times a week to help him with his studies. On the other days, Tommy was alone with his talking computer and his Braille books. Maria worked all day cleaning and organizing. The house was so big that it took all day to clean properly. But while she worked, she kept thinking about Tommy and the way music made him happy. That evening, after Mr. Harrison came home and ate dinner, Maria finished her work and got ready to leave. As she walked through the house to the back door, she heard something that made her stop. It was the sound of crying. Soft, quiet crying that came from upstairs. Maria knew it was Tommy. Her heart felt heavy as she listened. She wanted to go upstairs and comfort him, but she knew that was not allowed. She was just the cleaning lady. But as Maria walked to the bus stop that night, she made a promise to herself. She would find a way to bring more music into Tommy's life. She did not know how yet, but she would find a way. The boy needed something to make him happy. And if music could do that, then Maria would make sure he had music. She did not know that this decision would change everything. 2 weeks passed after Maria heard Tommy crying that night. She had been thinking about him every day, wondering how she could help. She started humming more often while she worked, especially when she was near Tommy's room. She noticed that he always became quiet when she hummed, like he was listening carefully to every note. Maria had grown up in a house full of music. Her mother played guitar and sang beautiful songs in Spanish. Her father played the accordion at family parties. Music was always around her when she was a child. She remembered how happy it made everyone feel. But the Harrison house was different. It was quiet and cold, even with all the expensive furniture and beautiful decorations. Maria had been working there for 3 years, and she had never heard any music except for her own humming. One afternoon, Maria was cleaning the second floor while Mr. Harrison was away on a business trip. He had left that morning for New York and would not be back for 4 days. This meant Tommy would be alone with just the house staff to take care of him. Maria was dusting the hallway when she heard a strange sound. It was not loud, but it was different from the usual quiet sounds of the house. She stopped working and listened carefully. The sound was coming from the end of the hallway, from a room that was always kept locked. Maria had seen Mrs. Henderson clean that room only once a month. She had asked about it during her first week of work, but Mrs. Henderson had told her it was off limits. "That is the music room," Mrs. Henderson had said with a serious face. "Mr. Harrison does not want anyone in there except for monthly cleaning. You're not to enter that room ever." But now Maria could hear sounds coming from inside. Soft sounds like someone touching piano keys but not really playing music, just touching and exploring. Maria walked quietly toward the door. It was open just a little bit. She looked through the crack and could not believe what she saw. Tommy was sitting at a huge black piano. His small hands were on the white and black keys, pressing them gently one at a time. He was not playing a song, but he was listening to each sound the keys made. His face was more alive than Maria had ever seen it. The room was beautiful. It had tall windows with heavy curtains. There were paintings on the walls and a thick carpet on the floor. But the most amazing thing was the piano. It was the biggest piano Maria had ever seen, shiny and black like a mirror. Tommy pressed different keys, listening to how they sounded different. Sometimes he pressed 2 keys at the same time. Sometimes he moved his hands from the low sounds to the high sounds. It was like he was having a conversation with the piano. Maria watched him for several minutes. She had never seen Tommy look so interested in anything. His whole body was focused on the piano. He leaned forward to listen better. He moved his hands carefully across the keys like he was reading a book with his fingers. Then Tommy must have sensed that someone was watching him. Blind people often have very good hearing and they can feel when someone else is near. Tommy quickly pulled his hands away from the piano and turned toward the door. "Who is there?" he asked. His voice was frightened. Maria opened the door and stepped into the room. "It is just me, Tommy, it is Maria." Tommy's face turned red. He looked ashamed and scared. "I am sorry," he said quickly. "I was not supposed to be in here. Please do not tell my father. Please do not tell Mrs. Henderson." Maria walked over to the piano bench and sat down next to Tommy. She could see that he was shaking a little bit. "Why are you scared?" Maria asked gently. "My father said I should never come in here," Tommy said. His voice was very quiet. "He said it was too dangerous for me. He said I could not handle it because I cannot see." Maria felt angry when she heard this, but she did not let Tommy know. Instead, she asked, "Do you like the piano?" Tommy nodded his head quickly. "I love the sounds it makes. Every key sounds different. Some are low like thunder, some are high like birds singing. I can hear all the different sounds and they make me feel happy." This was the first time Maria had ever heard Tommy use the word happy. "Would you like to learn how to play?" Maria asked. Tommy's eyes got wide. Even though he could not see, his eyes showed his feelings. "Could I really learn? But I cannot see the keys." "There are ways to learn piano without seeing," Maria said. "I know because I looked it up on the internet last week." This was true. After hearing Tommy cry that night, Maria had gone to the library and used their computer. She had spent hours reading about how blind people could learn to play piano. She learned that many famous musicians were blind, and they played beautiful music. "Really?" Tommy asked. He sounded excited but also scared. "Really?" Maria said. "But we would have to keep it secret. Your father does not want you in here, so we would have to be very careful." Tommy thought about this for a long time. Maria could see that he was making a big decision. "Would you teach me?" Tommy asked finally. Maria's heart felt warm. "Yes," she said. "I would love to teach you." But as soon as she said this, Maria realized she had a problem. She knew how to hum and sing, but she did not know how to play piano. She would have to learn too. "When can we start?" Tommy asked. "First, I need to learn more about teaching piano to someone who cannot see," Maria said. "Give me a few days to prepare. Then we can start when your father goes on his next business trip." Tommy smiled. It was the first real smile Maria had ever seen from him. His whole face lit up, and he looked like a normal, happy 12-year-old boy. "Thank you, Maria," Tommy said. "This is the best thing that has ever happened to me." That evening, Maria went straight to the library after work. She spent 3 hours reading everything she could find about teaching piano to blind children. She learned about Braille music, which was a way to write music that blind people could read with their fingers. She learned about special techniques and methods. She also learned about famous blind musicians. There was Ray Charles, who played piano and sang amazing songs. There was Stevie Wonder, who could play many instruments and was one of the most famous musicians in the world. There was a classical pianist named Nobuyuki Tsuji who was born blind and became famous all over the world. Reading about these musicians made Maria excited. If they could do it, maybe Tommy could too. The next day, Maria used her lunch break to go to a music store. She had saved some money, and she wanted to buy materials to help teach Tommy. The store was small but full of instruments and music books. "Komai, I help you?" asked the man behind the counter. He was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. "I need to learn how to teach piano to a blind child," Maria said. The man's face lit up. "That is wonderful. I have a blind nephew who plays beautifully. Let me show you some things that might help." The man showed Maria special books about teaching piano to blind students. He showed her simple music written in Braille. He explained how blind students learn to feel the piano keys and remember where each note is located. "The most important thing," the man said, "is patience. Blind children can learn just as well as anyone else, but they need time and encouragement." Maria bought 3 books and some simple Braille music sheets. It cost her almost all the money she had saved, but she did not care. She was doing this for Tommy. For the next 3 days, Maria studied the books every evening after work. She practiced on an old keyboard that her neighbor let her borrow. She learned the basics of how to read music and how to find notes on the piano. It was hard work, but Maria was determined. Every time she thought about giving up, she remembered Tommy's smile in the music room. She remembered how happy he looked when he was touching the piano keys. On Friday, Mr. Harrison announced that he would be traveling to California for a business meeting. He would leave on Monday morning and be gone for 5 days. Maria's heart beat faster when she heard this. It was time to start Tommy's piano lessons. That weekend, Maria practiced more on her neighbor's keyboard. She also went back to the library to read more about music theory. She wanted to be as prepared as possible. On Sunday night, Maria could barely sleep. She was excited and nervous at the same time. Tomorrow, she would start teaching Tommy something that might change his whole life. She thought about all the things that could go wrong. What if they got caught? What if Mr. Harrison fired her? What if Tommy got in trouble? But then she thought about Tommy sitting alone in his room every day, sad and lonely. She thought about his smile when he touched the piano keys. She thought about all the blind musicians who had learned to play beautiful music. Maria made up her mind. No matter what happened, she was going to give Tommy this chance. Every child deserved to have something that made them happy, and music might be Tommy's key to happiness. Monday morning came faster than Maria expected. She watched Mr. Harrison leave for the airport in his black car. Her hands were shaking as she drank her morning coffee. Today would be the day she would start teaching Tommy piano. Mrs. Henderson was busy organizing the weekly schedule. James was polishing silver in the dining room. Sarah was preparing lunch in the kitchen. Everyone was doing their normal work, but Maria felt like her heart was beating so loud that everyone could hear it. At 10 o'clock, Maria finished cleaning the downstairs rooms. She had been working extra fast because she was nervous. She looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then she quietly walked upstairs to Tommy's room. She knocked softly on his door. "Tommy, it is Maria." "Come in," Tommy said. When Maria entered, she saw that Tommy was sitting in his chair by the window, but he was not looking sad like usual. He was sitting straight up, and there was excitement in his voice. "Is it time?" Tommy asked. "Yes," Maria said. "But first we need to talk about the rules." Tommy nodded seriously. "We can only do this when your father is away," Maria said. "We have to be very quiet. If anyone asks what we are doing, we will say I am helping you with reading practice." "I understand," Tommy said. "And Tommy," Maria said, "this must be our secret. You cannot tell anyone, not even Sarah or James. Can you promise me that?" "I promise," Tommy said solemnly. Maria took Tommy's hand and led him down the hallway to the music room. When they got to the door, Maria opened it slowly. The room was dark because the heavy curtains were closed. "Let me open the curtains," Maria said. "It does not matter to me if it is dark or light," Tommy said with a little smile. "But I know you need light to see." Maria opened the curtains and sunshine filled the room. The piano looked even more beautiful in the natural light. It was so shiny that Maria could see her reflection in it. Tommy walked straight to the piano like he had memorized every step. He sat down on the bench and put his hands on the keys just like he had done the week before. "Okay," Maria said, sitting next to him. "The first thing we need to learn is where the different notes are." Maria had studied this carefully. She knew that piano had 88 keys, but they did not need to learn all of them at first. She had learned that there was a pattern that repeated every 12 keys. "Put your right hand on the keys," Maria said. "Feel for a group of 2 black keys that are together." Tommy moved his hand across the keys until he found what Maria was talking about. "Good," Maria said. "Now put your thumb on the white key just to the left of those 2 black keys. That is the note called C." Tommy found the key and pressed it gently. The sound filled the room. "That is a beautiful sound," Tommy said. "Now," Maria said, "put your other fingers on the white keys next to C, like this." Maria helped Tommy place each finger on the right key. His thumb was on C, his first finger was on D. His middle finger was on E, his ring finger was on F, and his little finger was on G. "These are the first 5 notes you will learn," Maria said. "C, D, E, F, and G. Press them one at a time and listen to how each one sounds different." Tommy pressed each key slowly. His face was completely focused. Maria could see that he was memorizing not just the sound of each note, but also how far apart they were and how they felt under his fingers. "The sounds get higher as you move to the right," Tommy said. "Exactly," Maria said. She was amazed at how quickly Tommy understood. For the next hour, they practiced finding these 5 notes. Maria had learned that the most important thing was for Tommy to memorize where each note was located. Since he could not see the keys, he had to remember by feeling and counting. Tommy was a very good student. He listened carefully to everything Maria said. He practiced each exercise exactly the way she showed him. Most importantly, he seemed happy. Really, truly happy. "Can we try playing a simple song?" Tommy asked. Maria looked at one of the books she had bought. There was a very easy song that only used 3 notes, C, D, and E. "Put your thumb on C," Maria said. "Now play C, D, E, D, C, like this." She showed him the pattern. Tommy tried it. The first time, he pressed the wrong keys, but he did not get frustrated. He just tried again, and again. By the 4th try, he played the simple melody perfectly. "I did it," Tommy said, and his smile was so big that it made Maria want to cry with happiness. "You did wonderful," Maria said. They practiced for another 30 minutes. Tommy learned 2 more simple melodies. He was picking up everything so fast that Maria was amazed. "We should stop for today," Maria said. "Your father will be gone for 5 days, so we can have 4 more lessons this week." "Can we really?" Tommy asked. "Yes, but remember, it has to be our secret." Tommy nodded. "Maria, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why are you doing this for me?" Maria thought about her answer. "Because every child should have something that makes them happy. And I can see that music makes you happy." "It does," Tommy said quietly. "When I play the piano, I do not feel different from other kids. I just feel like me." That afternoon, Maria went about her regular cleaning duties, but her mind was on the piano lesson. Tommy had done so well. She was excited to see how much he could learn. During her break, she went to Tommy's room to check on him. He was sitting at his desk, but instead of reading or using his computer, he was moving his fingers on the desk like he was playing piano. "Are you practicing?" Maria asked. Tommy looked embarrassed. "I was pretending the desk was a piano. I was trying to remember where the notes are." "That is actually a very good way to practice," Maria said. "Keep doing that." The next day, Tuesday, they had their second lesson. This time, Tommy remembered everything from the day before. Maria taught him how to use his left hand to play bass notes, which were the low sounds on the piano. "Music has melody and harmony," Maria explained. "Melody is the main tune that you sing along with. Harmony is the deeper sounds that support the melody." Tommy understood this right away. Like in the songs you hum while you clean. There is the main part you sing, but I can hear other sounds in my head that would go with it. Maria was surprised. Tommy had a natural understanding of music that most people did not have. By Wednesday, Tommy could play simple songs with both hands. Maria had brought him a book of easy songs written in Braille. Tommy was learning to read music with his fingers, just like he read regular books. This is like learning a new language, Tommy said as he felt the raised dots that told him which notes to play. Music is a language, Maria agreed. It is a way to say things that regular words cannot say. Thursday's lesson was special because Tommy played his first real song. It was Mary Had a Little Lamb, but when Tommy played it, it sounded beautiful. He played it slowly and carefully, and he even added some of his own touches to make it more interesting. You are not just playing the notes, Maria said. You are making music. What is the difference? Tommy asked. Playing notes is like reading words from a book, Maria said. Making music is like telling a story with your heart. On Friday, their last lesson of the week, something amazing happened. Tommy sat down at the piano and started playing a melody that Maria had never heard before. What song is that? Maria asked. It is not a song, Tommy said, still playing. I made it up. Maria listened as Tommy played his own composition. It was simple, but it was beautiful. The melody was sad, but also hopeful, like it was telling the story of Tommy's life. Tommy, Maria said when he finished, that was incredible. You created your own music. Really? Tommy asked. Is it good? It is more than good. It is special. That evening, as Maria got ready to leave work, she felt proud and happy. In just 5 days, Tommy had learned more than she had expected. But more importantly, she had seen him change. He was walking taller. He was talking more. He seemed more confident in everything he did. Mrs. Henderson noticed too. Tommy seems different this week, she said to Maria as they were both finishing their work. Maria's heart jumped. Different how? Happier, Mrs. Henderson said. More lively. I wonder what has changed. Maybe he is just excited about something, Maria said, trying to sound casual. That weekend, Maria spent both days preparing for the next week. Mr. Harrison would be home for a few days, which meant no piano lessons. But then he would travel. Again the following week, Maria bought more music books with her next paycheck. She also bought a small keyboard that Tommy could keep in his room for practice. It was not as good as the grand piano, but it would help him practice when his father was home. On Sunday evening, Maria visited her mother's apartment. Her mother was cooking dinner, and the small kitchen smelled wonderful. You look happy, mija, her mother said in Spanish. Something good is happening. Maria told her mother about Tommy and the piano lessons. Her mother listened with a big smile on her face. Music heals the soul, her mother said. You are doing a good thing for this boy. But what if we get caught? Maria asked. What if Mr. Harrison gets angry? Her mother took Maria's hands in hers. Sometimes we have to take risks to help others. This boy needs music in his life. You are giving him a gift that will last forever. But I am just a cleaning lady, Maria said. I do not know if I am good enough to teach him. You have something more important than perfect knowledge, Kier, her mother said. You have love, and love is the best teacher of all. Monday morning, Mr. Harrison returned from his trip. Maria watched him come into the house. 3 months had passed since Maria started teaching Tommy piano. What began as simple 5-note melodies had grown into something beautiful and surprising. Tommy was no longer just learning to play music. He was becoming a musician. Every time Mr. Harrison traveled for business, Maria and Tommy had their secret lessons in the music room. Tommy had learned to play dozens of songs now. He could read Braille music almost as fast as other children could read regular books. But the most amazing thing was the music he created himself. Tommy's compositions were unlike anything Maria had ever heard. They told stories without words. Some were happy and light, like birds dancing in the sky. Others were deep and thoughtful, like the sound of rain on a quiet evening. Each piece seemed to come from a different part of Tommy's heart. "How do you think of these melodies?" Maria asked him one Tuesday afternoon. They were in the music room, and Tommy had just finished, playing a new song he had created. Tommy thought for a moment before answering. "I hear them in my dreams," he said. "Sometimes I wake up in the morning and there is music in my head. I have to get to the piano to play it before I forget." Maria had brought a small recording device to capture Tommy's music. She wanted to remember these moments forever. When she played back his compositions, even she was amazed at how good they sounded. "Tommy," Maria said, "I want to ask you something important." "What is it?" "Would you like to learn about famous musicians who were blind like you?" Tommy's face lit up. "There are famous blind musicians?" "Oh yes," Maria said. "Many of them. Some of the most beautiful music in the world was created by people who could not see." Maria had prepared for this conversation. She had spent hours at the library learning about blind musicians throughout history. She wanted Tommy to know that he was not alone, and that being blind did not mean he could not achieve great things. "Tell me about them," Tommy said eagerly. "Well," Maria began, "there was a man named Ray Charles. He went blind when he was very young, but he became one of the most famous piano players and singers in America. People called him the genius because his music was so good." "Really?" Tommy asked. "Really." "And there is Stevie Wonder. He was born blind, just like you, but he learned to play piano, harmonica, drums, and many other instruments. He won awards for his music and became famous all over the world." Tommy listened with wonder as Maria told him about other blind musicians. There was Jose Feliciano, who played guitar and sang beautiful songs. There was Diane Shure, a jazz singer with an amazing voice. There was Nobuyuki Tsuji, a classical pianist from Japan who won important competitions. "All of these people were blind?" Tommy asked. "All of them," Maria said. "And do you know what they all had in common?" "What?" "They did not let being blind stop them from sharing their music with the world." That conversation changed something in Tommy. Over the next few weeks, he practiced even harder. He asked Maria to teach him more difficult songs. He wanted to learn about different types of music: classical, jazz, blues, and folk songs. Maria did her best to teach him, but she realized that Tommy was getting better than her. She had taught him everything she knew, and now he was ready for more advanced lessons. During her lunch breaks, Maria started visiting the music store where she had bought Tommy's first books. The owner, Mr. Peterson, had become interested in Tommy's progress. "How is your blind student doing?" Mr. Peterson asked one day. "He is doing wonderful," Maria said. "Maybe too wonderful. I think he needs a real piano teacher now." Mr. Peterson nodded thoughtfully. "There is a woman named Mrs. Chen who teaches advanced piano students. She has experience working with blind musicians, but her lessons are very expensive." Maria felt sad when she heard this. She did not have enough money to pay for professional piano lessons. Her salary was enough for her own basic needs, but not for expensive music lessons. "How expensive?" Maria asked. $100 per lesson, Mr. Peterson said. Maria's heart sank. That was more money than she made in 3 days of work. But that evening, as Maria rode the bus home, she had an idea. She would start saving money for Tommy's lessons. She would eat simpler meals and spend less money on herself. Maybe she could save enough for a few professional lessons. Meanwhile, Tommy continued to amaze everyone in the house, even though they did not know why. Mrs. Henderson noticed that Tommy was more confident and happy. Sarah, the cook, saw that. He was eating better and seemed more energetic. Even James, the butler, commented that Tommy seemed like a different boy. "He walks differently now," James said to Maria one day. "He holds his head up higher, and he seems to know exactly where he is going." Maria knew why. Learning piano had given Tommy confidence in all areas of his life. When you master something difficult, it makes you feel capable of mastering other things too. But the most amazing change was in Tommy's relationship with sound. Because he had learned to listen so carefully to music, he was now hearing everything around him with new understanding. "Maria," Tommy said one day as they were walking to the music room, Did you know that every person's footsteps sound different? What do you mean? Maria asked. Mrs. Henderson walks quickly with short steps. James walks slowly with heavy steps. Sarah walks medium speed, but one footstep's harder than the other. And you walk lightly, like you are trying not to disturb anything. Maria was amazed. Tommy was right about all of them. Learning music has made you hear everything better, Maria said. Yes, Tommy agreed. It is like the whole world is more alive now. One afternoon in the music room, Tommy played a new composition that was more complex than anything he had created before. It had a main melody played with his right hand, but his left hand was playing a completely different melody that somehow fit perfectly with the first one. Tommy, Maria said when he finished, that was incredible. How did you learn to do that? I listened to myself playing, Tommy said. I realized that I could hear two different songs in my head at the same time, so I tried to play them both. Maria knew that this was very advanced music theory. Most piano students took years to learn how to play two independent melodies at the same time, but Tommy had figured it out on his own. That evening, Maria made an important decision. She called the music store and asked to speak with Mr. Peterson. I want to arrange for my student to have a lesson with Mrs. Chen, Maria said. That is wonderful, Mr. Peterson said. But are you sure about the cost? I am sure, Maria said, even though she was not sure at all. When can we schedule it? Mrs. Chen could meet with him next week, but she would need to come to wherever he practices, since traveling might be difficult for a blind child. Maria's heart jumped. Mrs. Chen would have to come to the Harrison house. That meant Maria would have to tell someone about the piano lessons. Let me think about it and call you back, Maria said. That night, Maria lay in bed thinking about what to do. She wanted Tommy to have professional lessons, but she was scared of what would happen if anyone found out about their secret. The next day, Tommy seemed to sense that something was bothering Maria. Are you okay? He asked during their lesson. Tommy, Maria said, I need to tell you something. You have gotten so good at piano that I think you need a real teacher now. Tommy looked worried. Are you not going to teach me anymore? I will always help you, Maria said. But there is a professional piano teacher who could teach you things that I do not know. The problem is, she would have to come here to the house. Tommy understood immediately. That means people would find out about our lessons. Yes, Maria said. Tommy was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Maria, I have been thinking about something. What is it? I want to play for my father. Maria felt shocked. Tommy, that could be very dangerous. What if he gets angry? I have been thinking about it for weeks, Tommy said. My father thinks I cannot do anything because I am blind, but I can do this. I can play beautiful music. Maybe if he heard me play, he would understand that I am not helpless. But what if he stops our lessons? Maria asked. Then at least he will know what I can do, Tommy said. Maria, I do not want to hide this forever. Music makes me happy and I want to share it with my father. Maria looked at Tommy's determined face and realized that he was right. He had grown so much in the past few months. He was not the sad, scared boy she had first met. He was becoming confident and brave. Okay, Maria said, but let us think carefully about how to do this. Over the next few days, Maria and Tommy made a plan. They would wait until Mr. Harrison returned from his next business trip. Then, when he was home and relaxed, Tommy would ask if he could show his father something special. I will tell him that I learned something new while he was away, Tommy said. Then I will play for him. What if he gets angry at me for teaching you? Maria asked. I will tell him that it was my idea, Tommy said. I will tell him that I asked you to help me, and that you only did it because I begged you. Maria felt nervous about this plan, but she could see that Tommy needed to do this. He was ready to share his gift with his father. The night before Mr. Harrison was supposed to return from his trip, Maria had trouble sleeping. Tomorrow might be the last day she ever taught Tommy piano. Tomorrow might be the day she lost her job. But when she thought about how much Tommy had grown and changed, she knew that everything they had done was worth it. Even if Mr. The next few weeks were the most nerve-wracking of Maria's life. She and Tommy had decided to wait for the perfect moment to reveal his piano skills to Mr. Harrison, but finding that perfect moment was harder than they had expected. Mr. Harrison came home from his business trip on a Wednesday evening, but he was in a bad mood. Maria could tell because he spoke sharply to everyone and stayed in his office with the door closed. Tommy was disappointed, but Maria convinced him to wait. "When your father is stressed about work, he will not be able to appreciate your music properly," Maria explained. "We need to wait until he is relaxed and happy." But waiting was becoming more and more difficult. Tommy was so excited about his music that he could barely contain himself, and their secret was getting harder to keep as Tommy's confidence grew in other areas of his life. The first close call happened on a Thursday morning. Maria was cleaning the living room when she heard piano music coming from upstairs. Her heart nearly stopped. Tommy was supposed to wait until his father left for work before practicing, but Mr. Harrison was still in the house eating breakfast. Maria ran upstairs as quickly and quietly as she could. She found Tommy in the music room, completely absorbed in playing one of his compositions. He had his headphones on, so he did not realize how loud he was playing. "Tommy," Maria whispered urgently. Tommy stopped immediately and pulled off his headphones. "What is wrong?" "Your father is still in the house," Maria said. "He could hear you playing." Tommy's face went white. "I forgot. I was so excited about the new song I wrote last night that I just wanted to play it." Maria quickly helped Tommy, put the piano cover back on, and led him out of the music room. They had just closed the door when they heard footsteps on the stairs. "Tommy," Mr. Harrison's voice called. "Are you up here?" "Yes, Dad," Tommy answered, trying to sound normal. "I was just walking around." Mr. Harrison appeared at the top of the stairs. He looked at Tommy and then at Maria, who was holding her cleaning supplies. "What are you doing up here so early?" Mr. Harrison asked Tommy. "I could not sleep very well," Tommy said. "So I got up and was walking around the house. Maria found me and was making sure I was okay." Maria held her breath. It was not exactly a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. Mr. Harrison nodded. "Well, be careful walking around alone. You know how worried I get when you wander too, far from your room." After Mr. Harrison left for work, Maria and Tommy both let out huge sighs of relief. "That was too close," Maria said. "I am sorry," Tommy said. "I will be more careful." But the close calls kept happening. Tommy's enthusiasm for music was making him careless about their secret. The second close call happened the following week. Mrs. Henderson was doing her monthly deep cleaning of the house, which included the music room. Maria had forgotten about this and had left some of Tommy's Braille music sheets on the piano. Mrs. Henderson found the sheets and brought them to Maria with a puzzled expression. "I found these in the music room," Mrs. Henderson said, holding up the Braille music. "They look like they belong to Tommy, but why would he have music books?" Maria's mind raced. She needed to think of an explanation quickly. "Oh, those are mine," Maria said, taking the sheets. "I am learning to read Braille so I can help Tommy with his regular books better. I thought it would be good for me to understand how he reads." Mrs. Henderson looked suspicious. "But these are music sheets, not regular reading books." "I know," Maria said, hoping her voice sounded casual. "But the music teacher at the community center said that learning to read Braille music is good practice for reading regular Braille. The patterns are similar." Mrs. Henderson accepted this explanation, but Maria could tell she was still curious. After that, Maria made sure to remove all evidence of their piano lessons before Mrs. Henderson's monthly cleaning. The third close call was the scariest of all. Mr. Harrison came home early from a business trip because his meeting had been canceled. Maria and Tommy were in the middle of a lesson when they heard his car in the driveway. "He is home," Maria whispered in panic. Tommy was in the middle of playing a complicated piece and his hands were still on the piano keys. Maria quickly helped him up from the bench and guided him toward the closet in the music room. "Hide in here and do not make any sound," Maria whispered. Tommy crawled into the large closet among the stored music books and old instruments. Maria quickly put the piano cover back on and grabbed her cleaning supplies from the hallway. She was dusting the piano when Mr. Harrison appeared in the doorway of the music room. "Maria, what are you doing in here?" he asked. He sounded surprised and a little suspicious. "I am doing the monthly deep cleaning that Mrs. Henderson assigned me," Maria said, trying to keep her voice steady. "She said this room needed extra attention because it has not been used much." Mr. Harrison looked around the room. Maria prayed that Tommy would stay quiet in the closet. "I see," Mr. Harrison said. "Well, make sure everything stays exactly where it belongs. This room has special memories for me." "Of course, Mr. Harrison," Maria said. After he left, Maria waited 10 more minutes before letting Tommy out of the closet. They were both shaking. "We cannot keep doing this," Maria said. "It is too dangerous." But despite the close calls, Tommy's progress continued to amaze Maria. He was now playing music that was more advanced than anything she could have imagined when they started. He had taught himself to play with both hands independently, creating complex harmonies and rhythms. More importantly, learning piano was changing Tommy in ways that had nothing to do with music. He was more confident in everything he did. He walked through the house with certainty, no longer hesitating at doorways or staircases. He spoke up more during conversations. He even started making jokes and laughing more often. Sarah, the cook, was the first to comment on the change. "Tommy seems like a completely different boy," she said to Maria one day. "He used to be so quiet and sad. Now he seems full of energy and happiness. What do you think has changed?" "Maybe he is just growing up," Maria said carefully. James, the butler, noticed the change too. "Master Tommy carries himself differently now," he told Mrs. Henderson. "He seems more sure of himself." Mrs. Henderson agreed. "I have noticed it too. He seems more mature, more confident. Maybe having more independence is good for him." But the person who noticed the change most was Tommy's father. Mr. Harrison began spending more time at home, watching his son with curiosity. "Tommy seems different lately," Mr. Harrison said to Maria one evening. "Happier, more energetic. Do you know why?" Maria's heart raced. "Perhaps he is just growing up and becoming more comfortable with himself." "Perhaps," Mr. Harrison said thoughtfully. "I wish I knew what was making him so happy. I would like to encourage whatever it is." This comment gave Maria hope. Maybe Mr. Harrison would be more accepting of Tommy's music than they had feared. One afternoon, while Mr. Harrison was at work, Tommy made a request that surprised Maria. "I want to perform for other people," Tommy said. "What do you mean?" Maria asked. "I mean real people, not just you. I want to play my music for an audience." Maria was amazed by Tommy's confidence, but she was also worried. "Tommy, that would mean many people would find out about your piano playing." "I know," Tommy said. "But Maria, I am ready. I have been thinking about this for weeks. I do not want to hide my music anymore. I want to share it with the world." Tommy's determination reminded Maria of the professional musicians she had read about. They all had the same thing, a desire to share their music with others, no matter what obstacles they faced. "What did you have in mind?" Maria asked. "Maybe I could play for the staff first," Tommy suggested. "Mrs. Henderson, James, and Sarah, they are like family to me. If they think my music is good, maybe they would help us convince my father." This was actually a very smart idea. If the other staff members supported Tommy's music, it would be harder for Mr. Harrison to be angry about the secret lessons. "But what if they tell your father before we are ready?" Maria asked. "Then we will deal with it," Tommy said simply. "Maria, I trust these people. They care about me. I think they will understand." Over the next few days, Maria thought about Tommy's proposal. She watched how the staff interacted with Tommy and realized that he was right. They all genuinely cared about him and wanted him to be happy. Mrs. Henderson often asked Tommy about his day and listened carefully to his answers. James always made sure Tommy felt safe and comfortable in the house. Sarah prepared special meals that she knew Tommy liked. Maybe Tommy was right. Maybe it was time to trust these people who had become like family to him. "Okay," Maria said finally. But we need to plan this carefully. How should we do it? Tommy asked. Next week, when your father goes on his business trip to Seattle, we will invite everyone to hear you play. But first, we need to practice what you will say to them. Tommy spent the next few days preparing for his first real performance. He chose 3 pieces to play. One of his own compositions, one classical piece, and one popular song that everyone would recognize. But most importantly, he practiced explaining to the staff why he had kept his music secret and asking for their help in telling his father. Maria was nervous but also proud. Tommy was ready to step out of the shadows and share his gift with the world. It was scary, but it was also the next step in his journey as a musician. The day Maria and Tommy had been planning for finally arrived. Mr. Harrison left for Seattle on a Monday morning, and he would be gone for 4 days. This was their chance to reveal Tommy's secret to the house staff. Maria felt nervous all morning, as she did her regular cleaning work. She had barely slept the night before, thinking about all the things that could go wrong. What if Mrs. Henderson was angry about the secret lessons? What if James thought they had been dishonest? What if Sarah was disappointed in them? But every time Maria looked at Tommy, she felt more confident. The boy was calm and excited, not nervous at all. He had spent the weekend practicing his 3 chosen pieces until they were perfect. "Are you ready for this?" Maria asked Tommy during lunch. "I have been ready for months," Tommy said with a smile. "I am excited to finally share my music with people who care about me." That afternoon, Maria approached each staff member separately to invite them to something special. First, she found Mrs. Henderson in her office organizing household schedules. "Mrs. Henderson," Maria said carefully, "Tommy would like to show you something special this evening. Could you meet us in the music room at 7 o'clock? Mrs. Henderson looked surprised. "The music room? What does Tommy want to show me in there?" "It is a surprise," Maria said, "but I promise it is something wonderful." Mrs. Henderson looked curious but agreed. "All right, I will be there." Next, Maria found James polishing silver in the dining room. "James," Maria said, "Tommy has a special surprise he wants to share with all of us this evening. Could you meet us in the music room at 7? James raised his eyebrows. "Master Tommy wants to meet in the music room? That is unusual. What is this about?" "You will see," Maria said mysteriously. "Just please trust us." Finally, Maria found Sarah preparing dinner in the kitchen. "Sarah," Maria said, "Tommy wants to show us all something special tonight at 7 in the music room. Can you join us?" Sarah wiped her hands on her apron and smiled. "Of course, I love surprises, and I have been wondering what has made Tommy so happy lately." As evening approached, Maria felt her nervousness growing. Tommy, however, seemed completely calm. He spent the afternoon in his room, mentally practicing his pieces and preparing what he wanted to say. At 10 minutes before 7, Maria and Tommy went to the music room. Maria opened the curtains to let in the evening light, and Tommy sat down at the piano bench. "How do I look?" Tommy asked. "You look perfect," Maria said. "Like a real musician." And it was true. Over the months of practice, Tommy had developed the posture and confidence of someone who belonged at a piano. He sat straight but relaxed, his hands resting comfortably on the keys. At exactly 7 o'clock, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Mrs. Henderson, James, and Sarah appeared in the doorway together. They all looked confused and curious. "Tommy?" Mrs. Henderson said. "What is this about?" Tommy turned toward them with a big smile. "Please come in and sit down. I have something I want to share with all of you." The 3 staff members entered the room and sat on the chairs that Maria had arranged. They looked at Tommy sitting at the piano with puzzled expressions. "Before I begin," Tommy said, "I want to tell you that Maria and I have been keeping a secret for several months. I asked her to help me with something, and she agreed even though it was risky for her." Mrs. Henderson frowned. "What kind of secret?" "I wanted to learn to play piano," Tommy said simply. "And Maria has been teaching me." The 3 adults looked shocked. James spoke first. "Master Tommy, you have been learning piano?" "But your father said—" "I know what my father said," Tommy interrupted gently. "But I knew that music would make me happy, and I was right. Maria helped me because she could see how much I needed this. Sarah leaned forward in her chair. You have been learning to play piano all this time? Is that why you seem so much happier? Yes, Tommy said. Music has changed my whole life, and now I want to share it with you because you are all important to me. Mrs. Henderson looked worried. Tommy, if your father finds out about this, I am going to tell my father myself, Tommy said with confidence. But first, I wanted you to hear my music, because I hope you will help me convince him that this is a good thing. Tommy turned back to the piano and placed his hands on the keys. This first song is one that I wrote myself. It is called Finding My Voice. What happened next was magical. Tommy began to play, and beautiful music filled the room. His composition was complex and emotional, telling the story of a lonely boy who discovered happiness through music. Maria watched the faces of the 3 staff members as they listened. Their expressions changed from confusion to amazement to pure joy. Mrs. Henderson put her hand over her heart. James leaned forward with his mouth open. Sarah had tears in her eyes. When Tommy finished the first piece, there was complete silence for a moment. Then Sarah started clapping and the others joined in. Tommy, Mrs. Henderson said, her voice full of emotion. That was absolutely beautiful. I had no idea you could do something like that. How long have you been practicing? James asked. About 4 months, Tommy said. Maria has been the best teacher anyone could ask for. Tommy played his second piece, which was a classical song by Bach. Even though it was complicated, Tommy played it perfectly, with feeling and expression that made it sound like his own creation. For his third piece, Tommy chose Amazing Grace, a song that everyone knew. As he played the familiar melody, Sarah quietly started singing along. Soon Mrs. Henderson and James joined in, and their voices filled the room with harmony. When the music ended, there was not a dry eye in the room. Even James, who was usually very formal, was wiping away tears. Tommy, Mrs. Henderson said, I have never heard anything so wonderful in my life. You are incredibly talented. But how did you learn so quickly? James asked. And how did you learn to read music without being able to see? Tommy explained about Braille music and how Maria had helped him learn. He told them about his compositions and how music made him feel connected to the world in a new way. I understand why you kept this secret, Mrs. Henderson said. Your father has always been very protective of you. He was afraid that piano would be too difficult or dangerous. But it is not dangerous, Tommy said. It is the opposite. It makes me feel more confident and capable than I have ever felt before. Sarah stood up and walked over to Tommy. She gave him a big hug. I am so proud of you, she said. And I am proud of Maria for helping you follow your dream. What can we do to help? James asked. Because we want to help you share this gift with your father. This was exactly what Tommy had hoped for. The people who cared about him were ready to support his music. I want to tell my father when he comes home from his trip, Tommy said. But I am scared he will be angry at Maria for helping me. Let us think about this together, Mrs. Henderson said. Maybe we can find a way to help your father understand. They spent the next hour talking about the best way to approach Mr. Harrison. Mrs. Henderson suggested that they all be present when Tommy told his father, so they could show their support. Your father loves you more than anything, Mrs. Henderson said. When he sees how happy music makes you and when he hears how talented you are, I think he will understand. But what if he does not? Tommy asked. Then we will all stand up for you and Maria, James said firmly. What you two have accomplished is remarkable, and Mr. Harrison needs to know that. As the evening ended, Maria felt overwhelmed with gratitude. These people who had started as just co-workers had become like family to Tommy. They were willing to take risks to support his happiness, but the real test was still coming. In 3 days, Mr. Harrison would return from his trip, and then they would all find out whether Tommy's music could bridge the gap between a frightened father and his talented son. That night, as Maria got ready to leave work, Tommy stopped her in the hallway. Thank you, he said quietly. Not just for teaching me piano, but for believing in me when I did not believe in myself. You do not need to thank me, Maria said. Watching you grow and find your gift has been the greatest joy of my life. Whatever happens with my father, Tommy said, I want you to know that these months have been the happiest of my life. Music has made me feel like I can do anything. Maria hugged Tommy gently. You can do anything, she said. Your music has already proven that. As Maria rode the bus home that night, she felt both excited and terrified about what the next few days would bring. Tommy had taken the first big step by sharing his music with the staff. Now came the bigger challenge, sharing it with his father. But seeing how the staff had reacted to Tommy's talent gave Maria hope. If people who loved Tommy could see how wonderful his music was, maybe his father would see it too. The moment of truth was coming soon, and Maria prayed that Mr. Harrison would have the wisdom to see the gift that his son had discovered, and the courage to let that gift flourish. Mr. Harrison returned from Seattle on Thursday evening earlier than expected. His business meeting had ended sooner than planned, and he had caught an earlier flight home. Maria was in the kitchen helping Sarah prepare dinner when they heard his car in the driveway. He is home early, Sarah whispered to Maria. Are you ready for this? Maria's heart started beating fast. They had planned to wait until Friday evening to tell Mr. Harrison about Tommy's piano playing. Now they would have to move their plan up by a day. Tommy was in his room when his father arrived. Maria could hear Mr. Harrison's footsteps as he walked through the house, probably looking for his son. She heard him call out, Tommy, I am home. I am in my room, Dad, Tommy called back. Maria listened as Mr. Harrison went upstairs to see Tommy. She wondered if Tommy would stick to their plan, or if he would be tempted to tell his father right away. A few minutes later, Mr. Harrison came back downstairs and went into his office to check his business emails. This was his usual routine when he returned from trips. Maria found an excuse to go upstairs and check on Tommy. She knocked softly on his door. Come in, Tommy said. When Maria entered, she could see that Tommy was nervous but determined. Are we still going to tell him tonight? Tommy asked. Do you feel ready? Maria asked. I think so. I have been practicing what I want to say all week. They had decided that the best approach would be for Tommy to ask his father if he could show him something special after dinner. Then Tommy would lead him to the music room and play for him, with the staff there for support. Dinner that evening was quiet. Mr. Harrison seemed tired from his trip, and Tommy was obviously nervous. Maria served the meal that Sarah had prepared, and she could feel the tension in the air. After dinner, as Mr. Harrison was getting ready to go back to his office, Tommy spoke up. Dad, could I show you something special? Something I learned while you were away? Mr. Harrison looked surprised. Tommy did not usually ask to spend time with him. What is it, son? Mr. Harrison asked. It is a surprise, Tommy said. Could you meet me in the music room in 10 minutes? And could Mrs. Henderson, James, Sarah, and Maria be there too? Mr. Harrison looked confused. The music room? Tommy? You know that room is... I know, Dad. But please trust me. This is very important to me. Something in Tommy's voice made Mr. Harrison agree. All right, 10 minutes. Maria quickly gathered the other staff members and explained that it was time. They all looked nervous but determined to support Tommy. At exactly 8 o'clock, they all met in the music room. Mr. Harrison looked around at everyone with confusion. What is this about? He asked. Tommy was already sitting at the piano bench. He took a deep breath and turned toward his father. Dad, I need to tell you something. For the past 4 months, I have been learning to play piano. Maria has been teaching me, and I asked her to keep it secret because I was afraid you would stop the lessons. Mr. Harrison's face went white. He looked at Tommy, then at Maria, then back at Tommy. You have been playing piano? But I told you that was too dangerous. You could hurt yourself or Dad, please listen. Tommy interrupted gently. I want to show you what I have learned. Then you can decide if it is dangerous. Before Mr. Harrison could protest, Tommy turned to the piano and began to play. The music that filled the room was the same composition he had played for the staff 3 days earlier, Finding My Voice. But tonight, Tommy played with even more emotion and feeling. The melody told the story of his journey from loneliness to joy, from fear to confidence. As Tommy played, Maria watched Mr. Harrison's face. At first, he looked angry and worried, but as the music continued, his expression began to change. His eyes grew wide with amazement. His mouth fell open slightly, and then tears started flowing down his cheeks. When Tommy finished the piece, the room was completely silent except for the sound of Mr. Harrison crying. "Tommy," Mr. Harrison said in a shaking voice, Did you write that?" "Yes, Dad. I composed it myself." Mr. Harrison walked slowly to the piano bench and sat down next to his son. With tears still flowing, he asked, "Could you play it again?" Tommy played the piece again, and this time Mr. Harrison listened with his eyes closed, letting the music wash over him. When it ended, he put his arm around Tommy and held him close. "I'm so sorry," Mr. Harrison whispered. "I am so sorry." "Sorry for what, Dad?" Tommy asked. Mr. Harrison took a deep breath and tried to stop crying long enough to speak. "Your mother was a pianist," he said quietly. "She was the most talented musician I ever knew. She could play anything, and when she played, it was like magic filled the room." Tommy sat very still, listening. His father had never talked about his mother's music before. "When your mother died, I could not bear to hear piano music anymore. It reminded me too much of her, and the pain was too great. So I closed the music room and decided that music would never be part of our lives again." Mr. Harrison paused and looked around the room. "I was wrong," he continued. "I was so afraid of my own pain that I denied you the chance to connect with your mother's greatest gift. Music was in her soul, and I should have known it would be in yours too." Tommy reached out and found his father's hand. "I wish I could have known her," Tommy said. "She would be so proud of you," Mr. Harrison said. "The way you play, it reminds me of her. You have her talent, her sensitivity, her ability to make music that touches people's hearts." Mr. Harrison turned to look at Maria, who was standing with the other staff members, all of them crying as they watched this reunion. "Maria," Mr. Harrison said, "I owe you an enormous apology, and more than that, I owe you a debt of gratitude that I can never repay." Maria was so surprised that she could barely speak. "Mr. Harrison, you gave my son something I was too blind to see he needed." Mr. Harrison continued. "You helped him find his gift, his confidence, his joy. You risked your job to help him become who he was meant to be." Mr. Harrison stood up and walked over to Maria. To everyone's amazement, he fell to his knees in front of her. "Please forgive me," he said. "Forgive me for being so wrong about my son, and forgive me for not seeing what a remarkable person you are." Maria was so shocked that she did not know what to say. She had expected anger, maybe even being fired. She had never expected this. "There is nothing to forgive," Maria said gently. "You were protecting your son the only way you knew how." Mr. Harrison stood up and turned back to Tommy. "Son, would you play something else for me?" Tommy smiled and played a classical piece by Mozart. Then he played a song he had composed about happiness. Finally, he played Amazing Grace, the same song the staff had sung along with a few days earlier. When Tommy finished, Mr. Harrison applauded louder than anyone. "Tommy," Mr. Harrison said, "you are incredibly talented, more talented than I ever could have imagined." "Do you really think so, Dad?" "I know so. And I want to make sure you get the best music education possible." Mr. Harrison looked around at all the staff members who had supported Tommy. "Thank you," he said to each of them. "Thank you for seeing what I was too afraid to see. Thank you for supporting my son's dream." Mrs. Henderson spoke for all of them. "Mr. Harrison, we all love Tommy. We just want him to be happy. And he clearly is happy," Mr. Harrison said, looking at his son's glowing face. "Happier than I have seen him since his mother died. That evening changed everything in the Harrison household." The music room, which had been closed and silent for 9 years, was suddenly full of life and joy again. But the biggest change was in the relationship between Tommy and his father. For the first time since Tommy was very young, they sat together and really talked. They talked about music, about Tommy's dreams, about his mother. "What was she like when she played?" Tommy asked. Mr. Harrison smiled through his tears. "She was like you. When she sat at the piano, everything else disappeared. She became completely absorbed in the music, and you could see pure joy on her face. I wish I could remember her," Tommy said sadly. "You do remember her," Mr. Harrison said. "Every time you play, you are remembering her. Music was her language, and now it is yours too." They stayed in the music room for 2 more hours that night. Tommy played more of his compositions, and Mr. Harrison shared memories of his wife's music. He told Tommy about concerts she had given, about the lullabies she had played when Tommy was a baby, about how she had always dreamed of teaching their son to play piano someday. "She would have been so much better at teaching you than I was at preventing you from learning," Mr. Harrison said with regret. "But Maria was a wonderful teacher," Tommy said. "She was patient and kind, and she believed in me even when I did not believe in myself." Mr. Harrison looked at Maria again. "Maria, I do not know how to thank you properly." "Seeing Tommy happy is thanks enough," Maria said. "No," Mr. Harrison said firmly. "It is not enough. What you have done goes far beyond your job duties. You have changed my son's life, and you have changed mine too." As the evening ended, Mr. Harrison made several promises. First, he promised Tommy that he would never again try to keep him away from music. Second, he promised to find the best piano teacher available to continue Tommy's education. Third, he promised to have the piano tuned and the music room properly set up for daily practice. But his biggest promise was to Maria. "I want to offer you a new position," Mr. Harrison said. "Not as a housekeeper." 6 months had passed since the night that changed everything for the Harrison family. The house that had once been quiet and sad was now filled with music and laughter every day. Tommy practiced piano for several hours each morning, and the sound of his playing drifted through every room like sunshine. Maria had moved into her new room on the 3rd floor of the house. It was beautiful, with large windows and her own bathroom. But more than the comfortable living space, Maria loved her new job. Instead of cleaning and organizing, she now spent her days helping Tommy with his music and coordinating his education. Mr. Harrison had kept all of his promises. He had hired Mrs. Chen, the best piano teacher in the city, to give Tommy advanced lessons twice a week. Mrs. Chen was amazed by Tommy's natural talent and how much he had already learned. "In 30 years of teaching, I have never seen a student progress so quickly," Mrs. Chen told Mr. Harrison after Tommy's first month of professional lessons. "He has the potential to become a truly great musician." Tommy was now learning complex, classical pieces by Bach, Mozart, and Chopin. But he also continued composing his own music, creating pieces that were more beautiful and sophisticated than ever before. The music room had been completely transformed. Mr. Harrison had bought new equipment to help Tommy record his compositions. There were special devices that could convert his music into both regular notation and Braille. Tommy now had a large collection of Braille music books and a computer system that could play back musical arrangements. But the most amazing change was in Tommy himself. The shy, sad boy Maria had first met was now confident, happy, and full of dreams for his future. "I want to go to music school when I finish high school," Tommy told his father one evening over dinner. "I want to study composition and performance." "Then that is exactly what you will do," Mr. Harrison said proudly. "We will find the best music programs in the country." Tommy had also started performing for small audiences. First, he played for some of Mr. Harrison's business friends who visited the house. They were so impressed that word began to spread about the blind boy who played incredible piano music. A local newspaper heard about Tommy and sent a reporter to interview him. The article was titled, "The Boy Who Found His Voice in Music," and it told the story of how Tommy had overcome his disability to become a talented musician. After the article was published, Tommy received invitations to perform at local events. He played at a charity fundraiser for blind children, at a concert for senior citizens, and at his former school's talent show. Every time Tommy performed, people were amazed not just by his technical skill, but by the emotion and joy he put into his music. When he played, audiences could feel his happiness and hope. "Music is my way of sharing what is in my heart," Tommy explained to a reporter. "When I play, I want people to feel the same joy that music gives me." Maria attended every one of Tommy's performances, and she felt like a proud mother watching her child succeed. She had never imagined that the quiet boy she had taught simple melodies would become such an accomplished musician. But Mr. Harrison had an even bigger surprise planned for Tommy. One evening at dinner, Mr. Harrison made an announcement that shocked everyone. "I have decided to start a foundation," he said. "It will be called the Harrison Foundation for Musical Education for Blind Children." Tommy stopped eating and stared at his father. "What do you mean?" "I mean that we are going to help other blind children learn music just like Maria helped you. We will provide piano lessons, instruments, and music education to any blind child who wants to learn." Mr. Harrison had been thinking about this for months. He realized that Tommy's story was not unique. There were probably many other blind children who could benefit from music education but could not afford it or did not have access to it. "Maria will be the director of the foundation," Mr. Harrison continued. "She will hire teachers and organize programs to help as many children as possible." Maria was so surprised that she almost dropped her fork. "Mr. Harrison, I do not know anything about running a foundation." "You know the most important thing," Mr. Harrison said. "You know how to see potential in children and help them achieve their dreams. We will hire people to handle the business side of things." The Harrison Foundation officially opened 6 months later. Maria had worked with education experts to develop a program specifically designed for blind children who wanted to learn music. The foundation provided free piano lessons, instruments, and music materials to children whose families could not afford them. They also trained teachers in special techniques for working with blind students. Tommy became the foundation's first youth ambassador. He visited schools and community centers to talk to other blind children about the joy of music. "Being blind does not mean you cannot do amazing things," Tommy told a group of young children at his first speaking event. "Music taught me that I can accomplish anything I set my mind to." One of the children in the audience was a 7-year-old girl named Emma, who had been born blind. After hearing Tommy play, she asked her parents if she could learn piano too. Emma became one of the foundation's first students. Maria worked with her personally, using the same patient method she had used with Tommy. "Every child is different," Maria explained to the new teachers they hired. "But every child has the potential to find joy and confidence through music." Within 2 years, the Harrison Foundation was helping over 100 children learn music. Some of them showed exceptional talent, like Tommy. Others simply enjoyed playing for their own happiness. But all of them gained confidence and joy from their musical education. Tommy continued to grow as a musician. By the time he was 16, he was performing in major concert halls and had released his first album of original compositions. Music critics praised his unique style and emotional depth. "Tommy Harrison represents the best of what music can be," wrote one critic. "His compositions speak directly to the heart and remind us that music truly is a universal language." But despite his growing fame, Tommy never forgot where his musical journey had started. "None of this would have happened without Maria," he said in every interview. "She saw something in me that I did not even know was there. She risked everything to help me find my gift." Maria was always embarrassed when Tommy gave her credit for his success. "I only opened the door," she would say. Tommy walked through it himself. On the 5th anniversary of that first secret piano lesson, the Harrison family and staff had a special celebration. They gathered in the music room where it all began, and Tommy played the same composition he had written during his first months of learning, "Finding My Voice." But now the simple melody had grown into a complex, beautiful piece that told the story of his entire journey from loneliness to joy, from fear to confidence, from silence to song. As Tommy played, Maria thought about how much their lives had changed. She was no longer a housekeeper struggling to make ends meet. She was now the director of a foundation that helped hundreds of children. She had her own beautiful home and a job that gave her purpose and joy every day. Tommy was no longer a sad, isolated boy. He was a confident young man with a bright future ahead of him. He had friends, goals, and a special gift that brought happiness to everyone who heard his music. Mr. Harrison was no longer a distant, frightened father. He had become actively involved in his son's life and was proud of everything Tommy had accomplished. "You know what the best part is?" Tommy said after he finished playing that evening. "What?" Maria asked. "This is just the beginning. There are so many more songs to write, so many more children to help, so many more dreams to follow." Tommy was right. What had started as secret piano lessons in a forbidden room had grown into something much bigger, a foundation that was changing lives, a family that had been healed, and a future full of possibilities. As Maria walked to her room that night, she thought about the scared woman who had first decided to teach a lonely boy to play piano. She had been afraid of losing her job, afraid of getting in trouble, afraid of not being good enough. But love had been stronger than fear. And sometimes, when you follow your heart and take a risk to help someone else, you discover that you have changed your own life in ways you never could have imagined. The music room that had been locked and silent for so many years was now the heart of a home filled with joy. And every day the sound of piano music reminded everyone in the house that the most beautiful melodies come from the courage to try, the willingness to dream, and the simple act of one person believing in another. Tommy's story had become Maria's story, and together they had created something beautiful that would last for generations. The foundation would help thousands of children over the years, each one discovering their own voice through music, just as Tommy had done. And it all started with a humble cleaning lady who decided that every child deserved to be happy, and a lonely boy who dreamed of making music. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes in the world. The Harrison Foundation's motto, suggested by Tommy himself, was inscribed on a plaque in the music room. "Every voice deserves to be heard." And thanks to Maria's courage and love, Tommy's voice and the voices of countless other children would be heard for years to come.